Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the Vicki Boutin design team, and today's project is one that I've had in my mind for a while. So I just sat down and went to it, and I love how this turned out. So the main focus for this project is the color wheel paper, and I'm actually gonna use the one from the paper pad. I just wanted the paper to be more pliable for this. So you're gonna see that I'm just gonna go ahead and take it out, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out the color wheel. But I'm gonna be very careful because I want to make sure that I keep the outside circumference. I want to use that as a reference to create my circle on my paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to carefully just kind of cut a little piece of the circumference. Once I have a little piece cut out with my X-Acto knife, I'm going to go ahead and use my scissors and go ahead and fussy cut the entire circle, the color wheel, and then I'm going to start cutting segment by segment. I have this idea of creating, deconstructing my color wheel to create my layout. So you're gonna see that, like I said, I cut a little segment, and then I'm just gonna go ahead, fussy cut the entire circle. I want to make sure that I keep the original circumference just to help me with creating my layout. Super simple. This actually, like I said, is an idea, and I want to play with the papers, the idea of the rainbow, something very deconstructed, something that my brain just tells me it's gonna look good. So you guys know, sometimes I start a project with just an idea, and we hope and pray that it comes out right, but I love how this turned out. So I'm gonna take it off camera and just cut every single segment while my idea was I didn't know exactly what I was gonna do. So I'm gonna come back with a piece of foundation paper, and I'm gonna add a little bit of mixed media just to help me with the idea of creating kind of like I said, a deconstructed circle on my page. So you're gonna see right now I've pulled out two pictures of my kids when they were little. This is, I think my son was 7 and my daughter was around 5 years old. We're talking about 15 years old, 15 years ago. So now that I've cut every single segment, I'm gonna go ahead and start kind of putting this color wheel in place. And what I want to do is the entire circle, I want to shrink it to just a half of it. I want to place the segments in a diagonal and have them fanned on the side, and I want to make sure that they are sitting on top of each other, that they're different heights, at the different distances, so that they give me this idea of like a broken circle. And then I'm going to put my pictures right underneath. So the best way for me to make sure that I don't forget how everything looks like, because you're going to see sometimes you forget things. You have the idea, you put it in place, and then you forget, is I'm gonna bring my phone, I'm gonna snap a picture of it so that I know exactly how it's gonna sit. I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna pull out the little dot stencil. This is from the Bubbles stencil set, and then you're gonna see I'm gonna bring in the circumference. Remember the leftover paper where I cut the color wheel? I'm gonna place it on top of my foundation paper. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of bring the phone again, build my little fan of paper segments just so that I know exactly where everything is gonna sit. So I'm quickly gonna speed up the video so you can see it. And then I'm gonna use my ruler to mark the diagonal line that the papers are gonna form. So you're gonna see, I just set this up, bring my ruler, draw the line, really light pencil. I use a 2H pencil, which is a really hard lead, so it's gonna leave me a really light line. And then I'm also gonna draw the bottom circumference of the circle, just so I know how far my mixed media is gonna go. It's not gonna be a complete circle, but it's gonna be the idea of the circle. So now that I have that in place, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding my mixed media. But I'm gonna be very precise where I'm adding my mixed media. I don't want to cover the entire page. I just want to add mixed media to the area where I don't have anything. So I'm starting by adding yeso, and I'm using a palette knife just to run a little bit of it on top of my stencil, and then I'm gonna use my stencil brush just to kind of fan out the texture of the little bubbles. I want it to have be really raised right where the center of the circle is, but kind of fade as they go to the outside of the circle. So just keep in mind, remember how I drew the circumference? I want to make sure that everything is inside of my circle. So now that I have it, again, I'm going to go back into my phone, make sure that I pull out the picture so I know where every color is going to sit. I'm going to start right now adding some of the color back into the page. Remember, like I said, I'm being very intentional on where I'm adding my mixed media. That means that I'm going to add the color to the bottom half of the diagonal line. And for this, I am using art crayons. I'm starting with the yellow art crayon. This is from the Warm set. I'm just going to scribble a bit on I'm using actually my Tim Holtz glass mat. I'm just going to scribble a little bit of the crayon, add some water to dilute it, and I'm going to put it right on the top right corner of my little diagonal line. I'm going to kind of apply a little puddle, and then I'm going to lift up the paper and tap it on my table so that I create that organic drip. And because I want to reconstruct my rainbow at the bottom part, I'm going to start bringing other colors. I'm going to bring a little bit of green just to create the transition between yellow and green. Once I have the green, I'm not gonna tap every single one of them. Some of them I'm just gonna stretch with my little splatters, just because I don't want to have, like, remember, I'm gonna be very careful not to stretch the drips below the line of the circumference. So I'm gonna be very careful how I place my mixed media. Once I have, like, you know, my yellow, my green, I'm gonna bring some of the light blue and I'm gonna mix it with the green. It's gonna give me that tealish look, that color. I'm gonna apply it. Here you're gonna see I want to create that drip. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring a piece of paper towel, soak up the excess water that's sitting on the yellow drip, just so when I lift up the paper and tap it on my table, the yellow drip doesn't grow larger than what it is at. Okay, so I'm gonna continue working this way. You're gonna see that I'm gonna add a little bit more of yellow just to stretch the yellow, to make it a little bit more of green. Because my brush is dirty at this time and I didn't have any water, just the spray bottle, I'm gonna actually start creating another little patch in a way of yellow at the top. I'm gonna add a little bit of orange to it just so that I warm it up. Right now it's a yellow towards blue. I want to go towards the warmer tones. I'm gonna add a little bit of orange and just add like literally a few drops right at the top right corner of the little diagonal line, just so that I have that, like, you know, that gradation of color. And then I'm gonna go back into the teal area. I'm gonna come in with some blue just because that's the color that comes next. Again, I'm gonna scribble my crayon on the little mat, add some water to dilute it, pick up the liquid with my brush, deposit it on the top of the diagonal line, and then lightly lift up my paper and tap it on the table so that I create that organic drip. And then I'm going to continue working. I'm going to actually come in on the blue area that I created in my little mat. I'm going to add a little bit of fuchsia crayon, and that's going to give me that purple and lilac tone that you see in the papers. Once I have that, I'm actually going to move out of that area and I'm going to start, because I don't want to introduce any more purple, so I'm gonna go into a different area and scribble the fuchsia tone. I'm gonna add a little bit of that next to the lilac on the foundation paper, and then I'm gonna bring a little bit of the red crayon and add it to that fuchsia crayon that I have there. Like scribble, I'm gonna scribble on top, dilute it with water. That's gonna give me more of a warmer tone, more of a reddish tone, which you see in the segments of paper. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow so that I go from the reddish tone into an orange. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit more yellow again at the end, just to lighten up that orange, so towards the yellow. And that's how I create my gradation of color from yellow to orange, kind of a rainbow going down the diagonal line, just at the bottom of the diagonal line. And I'm creating my drips. I'm being very careful not to go outside of the line of that I created for the circle circumference. It was redundant, sorry, the circumference of the circle, because I want to make sure that I kind of keep my mixed media intentionally. So I'm applying my mixed media in a smart way. I just want that area to be covered. I know that my pictures are gonna go there, so a little bit of it's gonna be covered. So I don't want to cover the entire page. I'm just gonna put it where it's gonna show. So I'm gonna, once it's ready, I'm gonna set it aside for a little bit, let it dry for a little bit, and then I'm gonna come in with a baby wipe. So you're gonna see that. You're not gonna see it because I'm not gonna take it off camera, but I let it sit for a little bit so that the color, starts to dry on my paper and also on the yeso. And then I'm gonna come in with a baby wipe. What I'm gonna do with the baby wipe is, I'm make sure you don't see that in the camera, is that I'm gonna make sure that I take as much of the liquid that is soaked into the wipe outside. So I'm just gonna squeeze it in my hand and take away as much of the liquid as I can. And then I'm gonna create like a little tip on the baby wipe, and then I'm gonna be carefully cleaning up each of the bumps that the yeso created. I want the whiteness of the yeso to show in the color background that I created. And you're gonna see that I'm even gonna use my finger. I'm just gonna wet my finger in the spray bottle, and then I'm gonna go carefully on top of each of the bumps. That's gonna take out the color, and I'm gonna clean my finger on the baby wipe. Simple as that. And you're gonna see how the dots actually just pop from the background. Very simple. I'm gonna set it aside to dry completely, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna start building my page. For that, I'm gonna use my scissors because I'm gonna trim some of these papers. So one of the things is, some of these papers, the segments of the pie chart, wherever they change colors, there's a little line that kind of combines the two colors. I'm gonna trim some of them away. I'm also gonna trim some of the little circumference, like the little the outside edge of the segment, especially of the red, a little bit of the violet, just because I want to make them shorter. And the red to me is really dark compared to what I have, and I'm not a fan of red. I think I've said it many times, I'm not a fan of red or yellow that much, but I use a lot of yellow. But red is one that I try to stay away from. So I'm just gonna shorten the red, and it's also gonna help me with the movement of this pie chart. Can I call it pie chart? Because it looks like little pie sections. That's probably why I'm thinking pie chart. And what I'm gonna do right now, I'm just gonna go back and build my layout. You're gonna see that I'm just gonna play with the segments. I want some of them to just show a little bit. I want some to be high. I want some to be hidden. I want some of them to be outside, not follow that nice circumference, but I want to have like a broken look to it. Once I am happy with what it looks like, I'm gonna start gluing it in place. So the best way to do this without you moving everything is keep it in place and start lifting just the corners of the triangle. So I'm gonna start by the center. I'm gonna lift the corner slowly. I'm gonna add some double-sided tape because I want to make sure that the center of these papers are really glued onto my background. And then I'm gonna start playing with different, I don't know how you call it, depth or width of foam adhesive, but I'm gonna use like 3 or 4 different heights or depths or width. I don't know, just go from 1/8 to it's a 2 millimeters to 4 millimeters to 1/8 of an inch. So I have quite a bit because I love foam adhesive. So I have different widths, different colors, different sizes, and I'm just gonna start playing with them so that I can give that movement onto the segments. I want to make sure that they show dimension, that like they give me that idea of a broken pie chart. And it's gonna think of it as a fan. Think of it as just little pieces of paper kind of flying that kind of create this circular motion. That is all it's gonna take, and I love how this turned out. Like, I can't say it enough because I love how it came out. So while I needed to actually add something behind the picture that's gonna make them pop, so I went into the 6x8 paper pad, and I found the black paper that has the soft script. So I'm gonna back my pictures with that, just create a frame, and then I'm gonna glue them following the diagonal line. You can replace this by a 4x6 by all means. You can have like a portrait or a landscape 4x6, whatever suits you. I just like having 2 smaller pictures. These are 2.5 by 3.5 inches, I believe, and I'm gonna just place them, like I said, following the diagonal line, just making sure that just a little bit of the mixed media shows. So that's what I said, I was very careful how I added my mixed media. Once I have that in place, I'm going to start by creating my title. For that, I'm going to bring back the negative piece that was left over from the pie chart, and then I'm going to use the circumference, the bottom part of the circle, to help me add my title. And I had a hard time creating this title, so I'm going to put the word beautiful, and then I'm going to use those arrows that come in the puffy stickers to help me complete the circle. And because there's a little break between that little squiggly line and one of the arrows, I'm actually gonna use 2 little gold hearts, again from the puffy sticker set, to kind of help me create the complete circumference. I'm gonna add some stickers in that area. Just because I know that I have all that negative space, I can use a little bit of extra oomph, a little bit of dimension, a little bit of decoration there. So I'm just gonna add one of those black stickers from the tablet, and then I'm gonna add a gold sticker from the sticker sheet, I believe. The chipboard sticker has these little splatters, black splatters. I'm gonna add them on here. The one that's right next to the word beautiful is gonna move. It's gonna go actually to the opposite side. I put it here for now, but after I complete my title, I'm gonna talk to you in a little bit about that. One of the things I want to do is, I don't want to add much to the paper, but I am gonna add some embellishments to the pictures. I'm gonna try to keep kind of color block where I add my embellishments. But that I mean that I'm gonna add orange embellishments with the orange areas add. I'm gonna add blue to the blue area, and so on. So I'm gonna use little tabs, like those file tabs, right on the pictures, and I'm using one from the chipboard, one from the tablet, and the words that go like in the little spaces, those that come from the tablet. I pull the camera just because it has green, and that is from the tablet. I'm gonna pull one of the tags from the ephemera pack just because it had those tones of blue that I have at the top, and then I'm adding some of the puffy hearts that come in the puffy, the words that's full of little dots and hearts. I'm going to use some of the color ones just to bring more of that color into that area. The little viewfinder that you see next to the picture comes from the tablet. And then what I'm gonna do to finish this is I'm gonna go and start pulling the little dots that come in the puffy word pack or sheet, and I'm just gonna start adding them to the same color. What I mean by that is I'm gonna add pink to the pink, orange to the orange, purple to the purple, and so on. So I'm color blocking my little dots onto the paper, and I'm just gonna add 3 just at the corners of the paper, just to give it that little bit extra interest. I don't want to add no more because I don't want to take away from it. And then the only thing you're gonna see that I do outside of the camera is that I added the word day underneath beautiful. I just pulled alphas from my stash and then added some twine in my lines of journal. I love how this turned out. Super simple. It was fun to put together, and I hope you like it. As always, do not hesitate to leave me a message if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care, guys.